South Africa was put on notice by the Financial Action Task Force in 2019. This body is the global money laundering and terrorist financing watchdog. South Africa now faces consequences for its inability to tackle high levels of corruption in the country and shortfalls in how the country combats money laundering and the financing of terrorists. Unions have raised some concerns about certain clauses but have welcomed the bill.
It's a positive step forward by government to address gaps and weaknesses in our existing legislation, which hampers the nation's ability to deal with money laundering and terrorism financing, and to ensure that South Africa is able to avoid a consequential grey listing.
During the public hearing, some entities said the time frame given for submissions was not adequate.
It's already been alluded to how it is crucially important that all South Africans are given adequate opportunity to comment on this bill, and that this is a very important piece of legislation. It is important to allow an adequate opportunity.
Pretorius says her organization supports the bill but is concerned about stringent clauses in the Non-Profit Organization Act relating to the registration of NPOs. This sector says grey listing will have an impact on donor funding and billions will be lost. Treasury outlined the impact of grey listing and how it will especially affect the most impoverished.
We certainly take note of that, Chair, and we would also take note of the really helpful presentations that have been made by the submitters today, and would really maybe like to indicate that we take on board the useful and constructive comments.
The committee is, however, unhappy with the time frame in which this bill was processed. It was only recently tabled in Parliament.
This bill was tabled in Parliament just recently, whereas Treasury was seized with this matter from 2017. So it must come out very clear from the side of Parliament that it's not Parliament that is unnecessarily delaying the process of passing the bill. The executive should take the responsibility.
Early next year, government will be meeting with the FATF to discuss what more can be done to avoid grey listing. If this legislation is not enacted by then, it will not be considered a deterrent to money laundering and terrorism financing. The FATF will make its decision in February 2023. Abra Babia, SABC News, Parliament.